Good morning, everybody. Let me grab the trade plan from last night here. Okay, so today's profile is currently a very obvious inside day, so our trade plan is pretty much the same as last night, because we basically have done nothing on the overnight. You are staying inside of the value high and the value low of yesterday, so just rotating that value area. Right now, it's kind of hard to say what rotation we're in. You did hit the value low here. You kind of hit the value high there. So you could say we're in a lower rotation, looking for that 44, but it's kind of right in the middle, so it's a little difficult to say. So look for that 44, holding below that, we're looking for 34 and possibly 13, which is that gap fill. And then above 58, we're looking for this upper tail to be retested. So around 75, possibly around 84 to 88. If you look at today, there is a D shape. If you look at the overall day that we're inside of, it's a lowercase b. You have a very slight bearish bias, right? Possibly looking to extend the lower tail of yesterday. Same thing on NASDAQ. We're inside of that value area, holding above the value high, pushes into the upper tail, and then holding below the value low, extends the lower tail. So that'd be around 648 and 597. To the upside, around the 850s and 880s. So right now, as long as we are inside of that value of yesterday, we're just looking for those rotations. If we break out of that value, we're looking for the upper tail or the lower tail to be retested. Yesterday, we saw a couple of attempts to push into that upper tail, but they were held down by the sellers every time. So they showed that they had a bearish bias. They were pretty strong on the sell side. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Fernando, Tachi, Ordinary, Titus, Blood. Keep an eye on that value high coming up. Value high is around 58. Kind of the high of the overnight as well. Just stuck in the middle of that value of yesterday. Yesterday we had very low volume, kind of like holiday volume. Going into the new year, probably going to be like that for most of this week. Good morning, Future, Leo, JC, Greg, Igor, Marcel, Estevan, Trevor. Good morning, Ram, Larry, Brian, Lubomir, Vanquish, AT, Julio, Roman, Ike, David. Good morning, Liquidated Tamer, Red Dawn. Good morning, eBay, Adriana, Trader. Appreciate you guys being here. Good morning. Hope you all enjoyed your holiday, enjoyed your long weekend. We're back to a pretty normal schedule. I just won't be streaming on the holiday, so I think it's Thursday. Seems like it also can't decide what type of rotation we're in right now. Keep an eye on that 44 level. That's that value low coming up. A little bit of a difference in price action on the two indexes here, one going up, one going down. FOMC is always the same. It's always 2 p.m. The press conference that they have for like the normal meetings is always at 2:30. Good morning, music. Good morning, Lighthouse. We are a lot closer to these value lows than the value highs, so keep an eye on 672 and 44. We keep bouncing just before that 44 level. Volume is looking like it's going to be pretty low today, same as before. You can see that bearish bias that we had from yesterday's lowercase b. It's kind of pushing us down. Every time they try to bounce back up, they sell VWAP. You can see all the price action for the last like hour or so staying below VWAP, kind of implying that bearish bias, right? Large tape is asleep today. You can just see that the volume this time of year is just really bad. Yeah, the weekly open strategy is more important on an actual FOMC week. This is just minutes. It's also a holiday week, so it's really hard to say. But yes, if it wants to gravitate towards the weekly open, that would be going up. But I wouldn't bet on it too much on a holiday week. I'd say more common would be what it's doing right now, where it's very choppy and you're just kind of finding a node and sticking to it. Very common with low volume. You don't have the volume to really impulse away. You don't need to front run yesterday's levels too much. You can see they're already being respected. It's front running the low a little bit, but that's not really a front run because it's just bouncing off the POC. It's just a question on whether it's respecting today or yesterday. which it's testing yesterday quite a bit, so I would say it's respecting yesterday. You definitely have that bearish bias. You can just see the lower highs coming in. This is that bearish bias pushing you down a bit. Is it going to stay below 44, though? That is the value low of yesterday. This could just be a rotation, right? Oh yeah, there was Chicago PMI data at 9:45. It's not very impactful. 43.5 over 39.8. It came out very good. It's just not very impactful. Look at the large tape here. You're just not seeing the volume. Want to Sam Nitro Michael? Okay, there's some large traders coming in. 1,200 contracts there. Possibly reacting to the Chicago PMI. The Chicago PMI is usually not very impactful, but it did come out pretty damn high. It came out a lot higher than expectations. They were expecting 39.8, came out at 43.5. Normally, it is very low impact, if it has any impact at all. It's also a weird one that says it comes out at 9:45, but it actually comes out at like 9:41 to 9:42. And then it comes out again at 9:45. It has like an early release. So bouncing off that 44 level, damn near to the exact tick. I think it was. Yeah, it was to the exact tick. They are respecting the value low of yesterday. Big traders starting to wake up here. Another block trade. 850 contracts. It's hard to say if they're reacting to the data because this is very late if they're reacting to the data. This would be like a 7-minute delay. Could be more so reacting to the fact that the data is over now. Another large trader, 900 contracts at 54. Almost instantly finishing this rotation from 44 up to 58. Bounced off the 44 value low to the exact tick. Delta still exploding here. The value low on NASDAQ was 672, so it is bouncing off of it, but not to the exact tick. It bounced 2 points early, which if you trade NASDAQ, 2 points is literally nothing. Value high coming up at 753 to finish that rotation. Rotation on ES is basically finished. You're topping out at 56.5. It was only looking for 58. Only missing it by a 1.5, but it is protecting this upper node. If it stays above that upper node, it is going to continue to push here. It's not very threatening for the sellers unless they let it stay above 58. The upper tail is extremely weak, especially when you get to like 64. So that's where it becomes a problem. The buyers can reclaim this very easily. But right now, there is no change in structure. It's doing the exact same thing it's been doing all night. Value high, value low, value high, value low, value high. Like I said, very common in holiday weeks, very common on low volume. It's also in FOMC minutes, which they love to have D shapes on those as well. Is there a live stream every night? Every trading day, Monday through Friday, except for holidays. So no stream Thursday. Okay, now we are back into a lower rotation as long as it stays below this upper node here. Going back down to 44, possibly today's value low, which is around 46 to 47. Just depends on which day it's trying to respect. Want to Rish? Still protecting that upper node at 55, breaking that rotation, so failing to rotate back down here. This is your first attempt to break balance for today. There is no direct correlation with metals right now. The correlation coefficient is not tradable. Bitcoin having a little bit of a spike, up 2%. You can see they're trying to break balance, but the volume is just not there for the buyers. They are continuously trying to protect this upper node, though. They're not allowing it to stay below that value high, which is around 58. They keep going below, hitting that 55, and then bouncing back. So they need to stay below this 55 node, then it goes back into rotation. That's a pretty nasty 5-minute candle, showing a complete failure of that breakout. That node they're battling over has become the POC. They're putting so much volume on that node. It is getting slightly bearish. They're trying to go back into rotation. But notice how they're still rotating that node. If they're rotating the value area, they should not be stuck on this node here. Them rotating this node back and forth is still a little bit, it's slightly a break of balance, right? You need to push downward towards that value low, which is around 48 for the current day, or 44 for the prior day. Here comes that value low of today. So we'll see if they're respecting today's value or they still want to go down to yesterday's value. It's just a little bit higher. It's at 48 compared to 44. Notice the large sellers are waking up. All the large orders in the last 10 minutes have been on the sell side. So you're not seeing a large buyer reaction at the value low just yet. So it's looking for that value low of yesterday around 44. You're kind of in the dead zone in between them right now. Here is that 44 level, so once again finishing that lower rotation. We'll see if it goes back to the value high, which is around 58 for yesterday, and about the same for today, 56 for today. Look at the complete shift in the large tape here. So like when it was trading around that value low and going back up, you had all the buyers coming in. And then when you're trading around the value high going back down, you have all the sellers coming in. So far it's following that rotation perfectly. Was there an incomplete auction yesterday? I don't remember. Let me see. Are you referring to... Oh, you're referring to Tuesday. So yeah, you could say there's a few points there. Like 36 down to 34. You didn't quite finish. On NASDAQ, you did. So NASDAQ did finish the retrace for Tuesday. Okay, so they attempted to break balance to the upside. Now they are attempting to break balance to the downside. They have to stay below 44 to break that balance. And this would be more in line with the overall bias. The overall bias is bearish, right? Because yesterday was a lowercase b. They did not extend the lower tail. So this break of balance should technically be stronger. We'll see if it is. It's also the second break of balance, which means the first break of balance has failed and it's trapped. So they have those trapped traders to potentially squeeze out if they haven't squeezed them out already. So the upper node they were fighting over was at 54. Funny enough, that became the POC. They were fighting over it so much. Now the lower node they're fighting over is at 45. So if they can stay below that 45 node, that will extend that lower tail. You can see this candle's pretty bottom heavy, so they're already generating a lot of volume on that lower node. Relative volume, it's still very low for the day. But for that candle, it's a lot higher on the bottom. This volume should be about double what it is, if it wanted to be the average, right? Normally, the first couple of candles for the day, you have over 100,000 contracts. So already less than 100,000 on the first candle, which is very low. And then trading 60,000, it has a few minutes left. So this will probably be around like 70,000 or so. But seeing the first few candles below 100,000, that's not very good, right? Definitely have that holiday volume. Good morning, Tom. Time frames are all personal preference. If you guys want to play with the time frames, feel free. 30-minute is just my favorite time frame to use. It just encompasses like the strategy of volume profile, market profile, order flow. It kind of puts them all together perfectly. I'm also a very slow trader. I don't like to scalp in and out a million times. So the 30-minute kind of keeps me on track of being patient, kind of waiting for the bars to play out. A great example is today, like watching these rotations happen. You can see them very clearly on these 30-minute bars. You can see where it's failing, where the volume is being traded inside of these candles. Like right now, we have a very bottom-heavy candle on this rotation downward. Yeah, it's all personal preference at the end of the day. I don't journal too much anymore. The stream and the Discord is my journal for the most part. And as far as like the hard numbers go, like the win rates and the profit factor and all like the exact numbers, the platform does that for you. Pretty much any platform nowadays will do that for you. I'm using mostly Trade which does all that. Well, trading a lowercase b is pretty simple. You're treating it like a rotation for the most part. You're just rotating from one side to the other. But there is a slight bearish bias. So the sell rotation from the value high is just a bit stronger. It's usually going to play out more. And the breakdown into the lower tail is also going to play out more than a breakout to the upper tail. Good morning, Angelo. Still protecting this lower node, and funny enough, once again, they did the same thing we did on the upside, where they fought over this node so much it is now the POC. You're seeing that bearish pressure that that lowercase b puts on the lower tail. Now, I would argue there is absorption here. You could say their bearish delta is being absorbed. I think it's just a zooming problem, Wesley. I don't have any special settings. I just kind of zoom it in. You just gotta mess with the chart a little bit. There's no way to get it perfect every time. Still seeing that absorption. A lot of sellers down here, but it's just not holding below that 44. It keeps rotating back to that 44, which is that value low. Keep an eye on those EMAs. They're usually like the first telling sign that you're breaking balance and you're holding that break of balance. Because in order to break what is a rotation, right? Like rotations are, you're just ranging back and forth, right? So you're not really respecting the EMAs. So we can say the other side of that is if you are respecting the EMAs as you're pushing outside of this value low, then obviously we're holding that break of balance. So look for those EMAs to be taken out. If you start holding above that 24, then it's trying to go back into that choppy range, right? Now you can see sometimes like today, if the rotation is very wide, typically like 10 points, 15, 20 points on ES, right? If the rotation is very wide, you can still have those trends inside of that rotation, which is kind of what we're seeing today. You still have those micro, like 1 minute trends where it is respecting those EMAs pretty heavily on the way down, on the way up, right? It's because it's a pretty wide rotation. It's over 10 points. Still seeing that bearish bias pressuring this lower tail. So if you stay below this 44, which is now the POC, you're trying to extend that lower tail. That's where the trade plan targets come into play. That would be around 34 and 13. Notice how there's no lower tail here. It's trying to push down. Still seeing that absorption. You can tell they're pushing it. They're trying to push that lower tail. They do have decent delta. It's just not enough, right? The buyers are absorbing it and keeping it in value. You can see what's happening on the overlap here. The POCs are nearly identical. So you're being absorbed right on that POC of yesterday, which is the value low in POC of today as well. A little bit more bearish on ES. We still have the overlapping POCs, but look at where we are. We're way below them. So we have almost overlapping value lows that are being protected. But yeah, you can see this is a good picture of kind of what's happening. Trying to break the value low, comes back up. Trying to break it again, comes back up, right? Buyers are protecting that below 44. And this is the exact reason when I talk about trading lowercase b's, I talk about how you can be a buyer on the value low. You just have to be careful. You have to pay very close attention to how well they're respecting that value low. Because more often than not, the sellers are going to win that battle, and it's going to push that lower tail. But every time they don't push the lower tail and it goes back into rotation, that could have been a time that you bought the value low, right? So you can buy the value low of a lowercase b. You can sell the value high of a capital P. You just have to be careful. You're trading against the prevailing bias, right? Good morning, James. Yes, this is Addis. Yep. There's a free trial in the description down below if you want to try them out. Okay, keep an eye on VWAP here. This is where you could fail to rotate. So if it wants to be bearish and push that lower tail, they should reject VWAP pretty much immediately. You're not seeing that on NASDAQ. NASDAQ's already breaking VWAP. So far, we're not seeing a lot of sell pressure on this VWAP here. It's not pushing away from it. It could do this all the way up to the FOMC at 2 p.m. It's just a minute, so it shouldn't be too impactful, but we'll see. So far, it's ignoring VWAP, so it should be finishing this rotation. It's already finished on the cash profile, but the full session needs a few more points here. Going back to the value high of yesterday, which is around 58. Nearly respecting the value low to the point again. It went below it a little bit. You lost it by about 3 points. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, how you lost the EMAs on the break of balance, so it was no longer breaking. But because the value area is so wide today, you can trend on that 1 minute. You can respect those EMAs on that 1 minute for a decent amount of time. So it is still respecting that 8 EMA here. Yeah, 250 is a little high. I use 100. I think 100 is pretty good. It's not quite hitting that value high. It's failing a little bit early. This is more so respecting today's value, not the overlapping value. Yeah, have a good day, Chubby. This is that same node that they were fighting over earlier today at that 55 area, which was the POC. At the time, they might shift the POC back up again as well. No roll over top. It's more like a vertical distribution, but it's staying above the ADMA pretty well. It's not retesting that 24 too much. No change in structure overall, still just rotating. Getting a little bit slower. How many rotations have we had? You could say it kind of started here, because this one kind of failed. So you had 1, 2, this one kind of failed. 3, 4, this will be the 5th. So if you count the failed ones, you're around like 5 to 6 rotations already. Getting a little bit more bullish on NASDAQ, staying above 753 is starting to threaten this upper tail here. Large tape once again very green, so they're still following that standard rotation. As you're bouncing off the value low, going back to the value high, those big buys are coming in basically the entire way up. Here is that 58 level, so once again, finishing that rotation damn near perfect as well. They bottomed almost exactly where they should have. It should have bottomed at 44, so it went down a little bit more than that, down to about 41. But overall, it's not too bad. That means even if you blindly traded the value low, as long as you had more than a 3-point stop loss, you were fine. And most people are not going to blindly trade the value low, right? You're still going to wait for some type of buy pressure or signal coming in. You can see the same problem here. It's not really building a node on that breakout above like 56, 55. Even lower this time. They had a node around 55 here, but this node is only around, what, 53, 54. So breakout's a bit weak here. Still trying to stay inside of that overlap. You created a very defined range during yesterday's afternoon. You had a very strong bounce off that like 36 area, and then you started to sell off around the 60 area, and that's kind of what we're stuck inside of right now. Still respecting those EMAs for now. You got to keep an eye on it just like we did on the downside. You started breaking that EMA structure, then you went into that entire rotation. Just keep an eye on those EMAs here. Losing that 24 goes back to that lower rotation, possibly back down to like 42, maybe 44. It is still a little bit outside that overlap on NASDAQ here. So staying above 753, you're pushing that upper tail, right? If you lose that 750, then you're going back into rotation, back down to 680, possibly 670, somewhere around there. But all right, guys, that's it for today. I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day. I will not be back this afternoon for the FOMC stream. I stopped streaming the minutes. I only stream the actual FOMC meetings now because the minutes have done basically nothing recently. They've been very, very low impact. So once again, keep an eye out for that at 2 p.m. It shouldn't be too impactful, but just be careful. They're kind of random. Sometimes they do blow up. Just watch out for that. I'll be in Discord at that time, but I won't be streaming on YouTube. But alright guys, if you enjoyed the content, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex. They are still doing 90% off. It is typically their largest discount they do. So if you guys are looking to get any more accounts, you can use that code. You get 90% off and also have, they have cheaper resets, cheaper activation fees, etc. They also talked about, I don't know if you guys got that email as well, but they talked about how their new system is being put in place where they're helping people understand if they're breaking the rules before it gets to that payout, right? So they've been trying to put a system in place where they let you know ahead of time instead of having to wait until you go do the payout and it's like, hey, you can't do the payout because you broke these rules. They're trying to be more proactive about that. I don't know if it's like 100% in place right now, but they are trying to push for that. So yeah, take a look at that. I think they sent out an email about that. But all right, guys, that's it. I'll see you in Discord if you guys are there. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time as always. Have a good rest of your day, guys.